Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with, I believe, the 106th episode of House of Light, the expansion to Book of Hours, playing as the archaeologist. Now, we had a bit of a disruption at the start, which sort of threw me off my game, but I think it's a nice little reset, having done all of this work with the various skills. So. I'm going to talk a bit about... So I have a lot of options in front of me, basically. I'm going to talk a little bit about my reasoning in terms of where we might go in the next few turns. The element of the soul that I am the most short on right now would be Arab. And there are two places where I can get Arab. Heavens, I just wrote it down. There's Skolakosophy. Now, when we put a bunch of things into Skolakosophy, that gave us Shapt. So there's kind of two ways of looking at that. Either we, it's all Arab for the rest of the way now, or we have sort of a risk in terms of committing further elements of the soul. And then the other place where I get Arab is Bosk. Now, Bosk we haven't touched at all. Sorry, that's not true. We've committed one thing to Bosk. I should probably bring it back up. But there's sort of wide open spaces in terms of those two areas. So you can kind of see two competing priorities as well. It's quite difficult to level up the remaining skills for Skolakosophy. This would mean taking it to level 6 or higher. So unless I have some high-level skills to put towards it, I'm definitely going to be working harder for that. But then, of course, there's the challenge with Bosk, where, sure, I may have some lower-level skills. It might be a little bit easier to take those steps up, but I don't necessarily know which ones are going to work in the list. So that's one angle that I can take. Another one for me to focus on would be to try and level up some specific skills. So one I've been thinking about is Auroral Contemplations. That's one that I believe that can give me one of Invincible, Audacity, or Winning Move. I think it gives me a winning move. Now, maybe it doesn't have to be Auroral Contemplations. It just happens to be one that I remember right now. Another one that I'm thinking of is Sacra Solis Invicti, because that's actually the last one on the way to letting me put in Sacra Lamea. So that doesn't directly help my path for getting Arab, but it does help me move a couple of spots up on the list. So maybe what we'll do for a start, Sacra Solis Invicti requires Lantern or Sky. We've got two here, so this is a no-brainer, right? Sacra Solis Invicti matches to Sacra Solis Invicti. We're going to want to level that up as soon as possible. So the next question would be, okay, so we've got that. What else am I going to try and do? So for instance, if I wanted to try and bring up Auroral Contemplations, is there something that will let me do that? And in this case here, I don't think... Yeah, well, I could try with this one. I guess... Okay, Deep Mandaic. So we've actually got two for Deep Mandaic. I also don't know why I put that one in that collection there. So if I want, I can get Auroral up to 5, although that doesn't help me with my immediate needs of moving up skills related to Arab. So maybe let's ask the question, what would I put in Skolakosophy? I really don't actually have that many options. So I think it was Coil and Chasm and Lockworks and Clockworks. Because I seem to remember I'd been putting some things there already. So Coil and Chasm looks to be a bit of a tough one because of the Nectar. Although Wolf Stories would apply there. Although we haven't yet moved up Wolf Stories to a level that we need. So what about Lockworks and Clockworks? So that is a Skolakosophy. That one needs a Knock and a Sky. Okay. So I'm really coming up short when it comes to Skolakosophy here. So perhaps we'll just say if we're going to be going down the path for Arab, we maybe need to be working on Bosk. Now, one other thing I'll maybe just say rather briefly, I am, where I can, I'm trying not to consult wikis or just otherwise, I'm trying not to apply outside knowledge to my decisions here. So clearly, if I wanted to work out what will get me my Arab ahead of time, I just throw it in the, I search on the wiki and I say, okay, I'll level up this once because it'll get me whatever level I need. I'm trying to avoid that just because I don't think that's an interesting way of doing it. If I have to, I'll work it out, but I feel like I kind of have enough to be able to make some choices. So furs and feathers normally would be something I'd want to throw in here. But again, it invites the question, where am I getting the sky and the scale from? I don't think there's a good answer for that, unless I want to pillage the wolf stories, but there maybe are other reasons why I would want to, I'd maybe want to use wolf stories for its own purposes. Now, desires and dissolutions is an interesting one. I think this actually gets me, so that can get me an Arab right away. Normally, I have it higher. Well, I mean, this is the sort of thing I can just toss in. I'll maybe take a look at what books I can read before I commit that one. Herbs and infusions. Now, this one, I think I was a little reluctant to apply. Well, so I was a little reluctant to put this one in because it would give me, like, it helps against the corruption. But I don't know, between the nectar, we need 7 for these. I don't know, I could definitely see myself leveling up herbs and infusions more. So then the question would be, so what do I do with rights of the roots? Now, this one actually is interesting. So I could take weaving and knot working on rights of the roots. I could put that in position 3. That wasn't what I was originally planning, but that would definitely work. And I notice orchids and narcotics is at 4. So one possible path that I could go would be level up rights and roots. That gets me a 3. Orchids and narcotics would be 4. So then I would need 2 for herbs and infusions to turn that into a 5. And then we can worry about things like desires and dissolutions. So in theory, that applies the weaving and knot working. So then what do I do with the wolf stories? Well, I mean, one easy answer to that would be wolf stories, I think, is a bird song. So we just apply that straight here and we get another level for the tree. That's not that hard to work with. And then that leaves me back with the question of deep Mandaic. So I guess with that we have, no, Lockworks and Clockworks doesn't have a forge. So yeah, we return to the question of what do I want to do with this lantern, but maybe then we say, okay, that's a time to consider auroral contemplations. Although again, that doesn't necessarily help me. Okay, so I don't want to spend the whole time planning, but I at least have some initial moves that I can make. So let's think about what we can accomplish in sort of the next little while. I guess the first one for me would be I'd really love to level up Sacrosolus and Victi, but I don't know if I have what it takes. We've got the Sunny... Oh, no, hang on. 1, 2, 3... I could give up the Wind and Waiting, but that's a bitter pill. I could, however, get Lantern in 30 seconds with the Consider verb. And I don't really have a whole lot of other stuff that I can throw. Okay, yeah, this is what we're going to do. So I am going to take a look at the genealogical chart. And we've got a FET that we can use. So investigate this object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. So that's 30 seconds to get me my next level of Sacrosolus and Victi. I suppose if I get anything in a minute, I know that I'm giving up whatever element of the soul for the next day, but that's actually not a really big cost. So let's say that I want to take, I think it was Rites of the Roots that I wanted to level up. So for that one, well, alternatively, I could apply this to herbs and infusions, but I don't really have the parts required. So if I do this to Rites of the Roots, I have a satisfaction already. I need one. Nope, but the satisfaction doesn't count because it's not a moth. So yeah, there's a slight argument to trying to apply this towards herbs and infusions. Drat. I could also apply this to edicts inviolable, but so the other alternative that I have is we say, okay, well, let's not worry about that. Instead, let's take wolf stories, level that up using the fear and the hinds. Oh, okay. That's the smarter move. It's going to be very sad if Denzel gets me something with Lantern, like a revelation, but we could have used the Curious Hunch too, but I don't like that idea. Okay, so let's say we'll apply the health for the wolf stories. I'll apply my other health towards drying up water. It's a little early for... Oh, hang on. 90 seconds? That's a pity. Just trying to find things that I could use, like, get memories for in a minute. But we just don't have that much time. Okay. I think at this point, probably just cataloging the books. And we will begin our work in earnest tomorrow. Although, I will satisfy my curiosity. Let's take a core. I'm curious what happens if I read my own manuscript. My work, I can take pride in it, but I can't really study it. Fair enough. Alright, so I guess I could also use the talk verb to give the grapes to one of the chickens. And then clearly at this point we'll earn some money, but I'm maybe not going to go to Crowcross Sands or the moor just in case I don't have enough time. Alright, a bit of a weird end to the day, but I will accept it. He does a lot with silence, this man. Alright. This mod... I worked myself up trying to... Yeah, so this does work for Rites of the Roots. Well, that's fine, because then we can just sleep on it. Okay, so let's give the grapes to Resentful Terrence. I know you've been waiting a while. Satisfy this creature's appetite. Food will make a hungry beast or a wild one cooperative. Night has fallen. Dawn will come soon. So there's nothing else we can do memory-wise, so I'm going to take the impulse and carry that overnight. I think it's fair to say that the water will not be ready in time. Okay. The genealogical chart. 6 years ago, King George's heir Edward killed him in a quarrel over Edward's womanizing. The kingdom was saved from constitutional collapse by Henry Huddleston Abney Hastings, 13th Count of Loudon, who claimed descent through the Plantagenet line. Heaven lift the new king. Collars was keenly interested in the history of the houses Tudor, Plantagenet, Hanover, Windsor, etc., all the way back to the days of the Leashed Flame. He had also doodled the Suppression Bureau seal by the name of King Henry's mother, Edith. Of course, Lady Edith serves as Nocturnal Secretary, the minister with final responsibility for the entire bureau. Let's get Sacra Solis Invicti leveled up. So satisfying to have come so far. Improve the skill to level 5. The Twin Serpent Tantra, just before the outbreak of the Great War, Alexander Sparrow, almost certainly a pseudonym, published leaflets claiming the influence of snake princes on world affairs. The text, called the Twin Serpent Tantra, was his primary inspiration. I think this is one where if I had already committed the memory, it gets, or the skill, it gets put on the list, or in the collection, rather. And an investigation of a foundered country, subtitled Recordings from the Atlantic Coast. I really need to find a better place for these. Actually, I guess we're at the point where I can... Okay, let's take a minute. So yeah, we'll move Wolf Stories up. I guess I'll use the health for that. I really should be working out how I want to move up through the house. The skill is now level 5. Its power aspects have also increased. So again, we're pretty much at the end of the night, but we will move ahead with our levels. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. Improve the skill to level 3. So while we do this, I'll move my relevant skills up. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Now, I suppose one thing that I can do here is just throw a couple of shaft at the problem, because I'm going to lose them in the morning anyway, so we might as well just get the advantage. So I said I was going to be leveling up Rites of the Roots. So maybe for that I will get a... I don't think I have any moths that are specific to me. I guess it would be scent. Oh, okay. Maybe scent is the one that I'm looking for then. Because yeah, we've got the impulses. So that's the moth and nectar. And I don't have a... I don't have the... God, the earth sign. Yeah, so we'll leave it be. Maybe should have thought of that before I made my choices, but we will be able to work through that. Alright, a full belly makes a helpful friend. This beastie is now inclined to cooperate. So eventually I'm going to need to make some decisions about the relevant skills. So actually orchids and narcotics is kind of relevant here because it may get me some points that I want to apply to the... Okay, I'm going to keep that one in mind. I think there's a similar story that might be said about insects and nectars. Okay, definitely Book of Thrones, relevant for auroral contemplations. What made that noise? Sorry, just give me a second here. Okay, doesn't look like anything broke. So yeah, I mean, as is usually the case, I have no shortage of candidates for things to do. I think we can probably add the secret colors to... Well, I don't want to crowd this too much, but yeah, I think the priority should still be on building those, getting those building blocks rather than just throwing any old book at the problem. So for instance, I do want to level up Auroral Contemplations, but let's deal with what I have in front of me. Let's hope it's equally possible to forget this again. Alright, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. And as expected, we are down the... Actually, I really didn't need that water either, but that's fine. Alright, so there is an argument for bringing in Denzel again, because we'll be doing a bunch of leveling. I'm always welcome at Denzel's Smithy. And I think we will... I'm going to keep making money too. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. So, I do have most of what I need. So right now the consider verb is being occupied and I will want assent from it. We do, however, want to level up Sacra Solace Invicti, which currently has 5... Okay, actually also short on the Didumos. So right now I don't have a need for the Arab. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and get 5 Lantern or Sky to work with. That shouldn't be difficult just because of all of the music that I have. And from there, we can... Oh, hang on. Leaves and Thorns. Trini's Mahaira. Okay, so it's not... None of this is related to... Okay, that's one that would normally go down here. As is this one. Actually, I think all of these are. Yeah. So these are all surplus, but fairly high up on the list. So it's actually only the Queens and the Rivers that I don't already have. Okay. So yeah, let's focus right now on what I can get for Sacra Solace Invicti. I'll read the Perugian Diaries. I will sneak a peek at Intimations of Skin. So that's 2. We can get the Savage Hymn. I want to be a little careful with what I do with the core, but... So that's 3 of 5. So the Bittersweet Certainty. Hang on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 1 more. Ideally one that won't come up with Denzel, although I think that ship is safe. No, we can do the Confounding Parable. Okay, so that's Sacra Solace Invicti accounted for. That will also eventually be Weaving and Not Working accounted for. So it really comes back down to that question of what do I want to do with Deep Mandaic. So let's say... Sea Stories... Or sorry, Okay, so if I recall correctly, there was not any wolf stories in here. So I think there's actually a fairly decent argument that says we can put the wolf stories in that slot. I'm also just trying to think here. So if we do the Book of Thrones, that'll get me 2 for Auroral Contemplations, which in theory means that I can apply these to bring it up to 7. but do I have a use for auroral contemplations at 7? I think I actually, if I'm putting it in Nyctodromy, Edict's Liminal already has the 7. So I suppose we return to the question of, is there a Skolokosophy or Bossk purpose that I can put this towards? You know what? I have enough to do that I'm going to park the Deep Mandaic consideration just because I don't have that much time. And we'll consider next steps as I get a little bit closer to it. That's kind of there's a double-edged sword in terms of sort of flying by the seat of your pants in terms of these setups. It's very fun to play this way, but it does create a challenge when streaming or recording a video where I don't, like, I already have a lot of the episodes are kind of already dedicated to just puzzling some of the stuff out. And I think in some cases that's part of the game, so it's not, I don't necessarily think it's the shooting offense, but it is worth taking some time to reflect on whether or not that's a decision that needs to be made right now, because some of the videos can turn into just full planning exercises, and that, I don't know, it doesn't always, feel good to do those, but maybe people find them interesting. I don't know. Rain. Okay, that's technically relevant to the skill, but I'm wondering if there's maybe something more exciting we can do with this. Oh, for heaven's sake. All right. An enigmatic array of glyphic knots and stylized hands. I can make nothing of it. So that's my bad. I should have applied the Sabazine. But I believe we should be able to level up weaving and knot working ahead on that. Denzel rarely works for free, but he won't take payment for helping a friend. Alright, the skill is now level 3, its power aspects have also increased. So actually with that in mind, I didn't really want to do this, but let's actually level up. I believe it was Rites of the... Oh, heaven's sake. Yeah, it is Rites of the Roots. I was originally going to put a health, but I denied myself that, so now I have to put the Tristan. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. And a little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. So that does raise the question as to whether or not I want to restore the health, because I have... I want to restore something, but I actually don't see a use of the water. So maybe we'll just use that water in making more Orpiment Exultant. So, with that in mind, let's go... So there's a few things that I want to do with my skill. So for instance, here we're getting Didymos, but we're going to have to make the Ascendant Harmony. Actually, I'm doing okay for Persistent Memories. There's definitely some things I can use them for. So it really is more of a question in terms of what rooms I want to open. It is kind of tempting to open up the Stifling Chamber or the Wormnod Kitchen. I'm going to resist the temptation, but I should be making more of my readings. Alright, let's at least start with the wolf stories. So I want to just double check that that was... I'm like 99% sure I was putting that in Birdsong, but I was... Sorry, I wish I had a better way of sort of showing the notes that I've been jotting down while I go through this, but Okay, there's Birdsong. Music, riddles, miscellanea, if the gods gossiped. Okay, so we will take our wolf stories. Sometimes we eat the wolf, and sometimes the wolf eats us. The Wolf's Return. The sanctioned version of the Book of Suns says the wolf divided was awoken by the sun's division. We know from this that the wolf was its own hour, even when the sun was whole. So we glean and we guess that the sun might be healed, and the wolf returned to its slumbers. So we glean and guess that a second dawn would bring peace, but the wolf will fight to prevent it. This is Birdsong. So, of course, this invites the next question. If I want to go down the birdsong path, what is the next, well, specifically, what is the next skill that I want to level up? And what, is there something that's relevant to, Lantern or Forge? So I believe for that one, we've got Rhyme and Remembrance. I'm pretty sure I would put Sea Star. Oh, actually, you know what? This does open up Path and Pilgrim form. Well, we've already kind of moved up on Path and Pilgrim, but let's say, okay, so based off of what I'm seeing here, we would maybe move Rhyme and Remembrance, Hill and Hollow. Maybe I shouldn't be so quick on some of these. So let's say I got Rhyme and Remembrance up to 4. Well, I'm employing some of these as skills still, so. All right. The more I look at this, the more it really does seem like I'm just going to be putting this all into Auroral Contemplations, which is not, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't actually get me the thing that I need. I also think I committed Snow Stories, so this technically goes to the spare shelf. Well, I tried. Okay. Yeah, I'm obviously going to have to do some of this on my own time. Let's at least try and get the... Yeah, I'm really stumped on how I want to use Deep Mandaic. I mean, like, so just to be clear, like, I have options, and I mean, even something like Disciplines of the Scar I can push up. It's just... where I can, I'd like to be directing my attention towards things that have really clear benefit. Well, I mean, Bells and Braziers is an option with Deep Mandaic too. Right, the dream of a star is not apparent to the human eye, but its presence, once felt, could not be mistaken for anything else. So I can't remember if this gets me an Ascendant Harmony right away. I don't think it does. Yep, so I would have to use... Well, shoot. I don't think I've got a better sky to get that memory out of. Okay. I will... Maybe read Apollo and Marsyas. I won't do it right now, but I'm sorry, I won't generate the Ascendant Harmony on this video, but I'll at least get in position. Okay, we've got a regret. Now that theoretically can be applied to whatever we want to do with the Deep Mandaic, so I really should be giving that a thought. Alright, the skill is now level 3. Its power aspects have also increased. So if memory serves, we were going to do Rites of the Roots goes really want to double check that I had that in my... Yep, nope, that's fine. Rites of the Roots has normally been a way that I make some higher level skills. So it's weird to have this so low, but Rites of the Roots. The oldest hours are the gods from blood who rose from sacrifice. That blood was always spilt on the roots, and the rites of its spilling are still remembered. And Bosk. The lore of the primeval wood, rarely written, often felt. The oldest living hours are the gods who were blood. The gods from stone were older still, but they're buried in the earth, scattered in the sea, lost to the moon. This is why we're always careful when we make the sacrifice, because if we spilt enough blood on their graves, they'd return for their revenge. Bosk knows. Alright, so that gets me the Arab. Now the real question here would be, based off of what I've currently got, do I feel comfortable putting orchids and narcotics in that spot? I would generally say no. Yeah, actually, this is kind of a funny one. So orchids and narcotics can actually be moved higher up. So what I really need to do here is find something that I can, level up furs and feathers with. So it would be furs and feathers, herbs and infusions, which I was willing to put at a higher point. Desires and dissolutions, I feel like that's something I will be able to level up without too much trouble. So let's maybe say as a pure just, I'm spitballing here. Let's say furs and feathers gets a 4. Herbs and infusions. I don't know, let's say, again, another weird one for me because I put desires. So desires and dissolutions gets a 5. Herbs and infusions goes to 6, which would mean orchids goes to 7. So I'm making a few of these do some work here because I don't actually have enough to be able to level all of these to the top levels that I want. But the thing that's nice about getting herbs and infusions up to a level 6 is that basically I need, a health to be able to remove any corruption. Whereas something like orchids and narcotics, that doesn't add anything, or rites of the roots. Like these don't necessarily add anything in directly to the to being able to cure my books and such. Now, I guess the one catch here is that I don't think I have anything very useful for furs and feathers. Hunting journals of Brian DeWolf, maybe? I thought I had that at least. Okay, definitely not worth extending the broadcast for, but yeah, what I'm really looking for before I dip into the the surplus, it would be nice to have like a nice clear, only this skill will solve. Okay, you know what? Should put the secret colors in the bonus slot too. All right, I lost my chance. But yeah, honestly, I don't see furs and feathers showing up for any of these. So, okay, so as a first guess, maybe we take something like the Red Book of Brittany to level up furs and feathers. And that'll help me kind of go through the Bossk list. It's not the end of the world if I dip into this stuff. It's just, it's an option. And furthermore, like if I get something like Anbury and Lapidary, so technically that could also be used for furs and feathers, but you know, it does sort of say, okay, so what do I really need that can't be used with the Deep Mandaic? But as I said, some of these are sort of arcane enough that I don't feel... okay, sorry. I know I'm at the 40-minute mark now. I do want to just get the Sacrosalis Invicti in place. But yeah, I don't know. It is a little bit of just paralysis from the number of choices. And I do see some ways through this. It's tricky for me to decide what is the most beneficial in terms of knocking down the dominoes of these future books, because a lot of this stuff I'm sitting on just because I don't have a clear idea of where I want to put them in the Tree of Wisdoms. And I know that at some point these are going to have to go up higher than like a 2 or a 3. And so which choice is going to commit me to just this absolute hell on earth of trying to drag something up to its top level, and which of those choices are just going to be like, yeah, I just need a couple of memories and, you know, we can send the thing off. Obviously not something I'm going to solve for today, but all right. So, the Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Lompoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years, since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Lompoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, "I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me, and good intentions or not, I can no longer bear this dream of eyes. We've agreed to part almost amicably." Lompoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies, and the latter half of his journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying quality. One of the better ones, in the Marshes of Night, suggests he visited the site of Old Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio, and I would love to read the rest of these, but it occurred to me that I'm actually going to have a couple of seconds waiting for the Savage Hymn anyway. So I'm just going to leave a note for myself to level up Sacrosalis Invicti. I'll maybe have a bit of a think in terms of where I want to put the remaining points, and then we'll be ready for on Monday for the... we'll at least have some reading at the start, and hopefully that'll help bring me up to speed in terms of where I want to go. So thank you everybody for watching. Again, I'm sorry for the rough start on Monday. I debated about re-recording it, but I really don't like... I don't like rewinding a broadcast unless I just straight up know there's no audio or anything like that. So, but yes, I'm looking forward to next week and moving on. I'm feeling sort of the bite now in terms of the rest of the house. So I do think some of my considerations here may also be built around how I want to, what crafts I want to make to be able to level this stuff up. But again, a decision for another time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Take care.